Hey, this is Nica Montford, aka Tech Savvy Diva,
Yo, this is Terrance Gaines, aka Brother Tech.
and you're listening and watching the snobOS show, the show for Apple snobs, where we talk all things Apple and then some. Welcome back, everybody, to another week of the snobOS show. We want to take a quick second to thank each of you for continuing to listen and support our show. You can also head on over to patreon.com/snobOScast to get some information on how you can become a financial supporter of the show. And with that, get some exclusive content and get to watch our show live as we stream on YouTube. So, with that being said, we're going to kick it off with the lowdown where we talk all things Apple. So, we're talking all things Apple, but let me back it up just a little bit to say Happy Black History Month to everyone because Black History is American history. We are recording on the very first day of Black History Month. So, yeah, definitely partake in many of the activities that will be surrounding Black History Month. Learn a little bit more about what Black people have done and continue to do in this country, and also take some time to become a bit more aware around issues surrounding Black Americans and Black people in the Black diaspora all around. Okay, now let's get back into the lowdown where we talk all things Apple. We're gonna kick it off with a little bit of a rumor. We're gonna be rumor heavy this week on the lowdown, kicking off with the iPhone 15 Pro. It is rumored that the iPhone 15 Pro, the differentiator between the Pro and the, we'll call it standard iPhone 15, will be that the iPhone 15 Pro line will get the next generation Wi-Fi 6E chip. And you may say, Wi-Fi 6E, what's that? Who cares about
hmm
it? How is it going to help me? Well, the Wi-Fi 6E is, of course, it's a new chip. So it allows for a more reliable and faster connection. In addition to, which I think is probably the biggest issue, well, the biggest improvement is that Wi-Fi 6E is on the 6 gigahertz spectrum, while most of your other typical Wi-Fi is going to either be on the 2.4 gigahertz band or the 5 gigahertz band. So that's in essence what the difference is. And it's the latest chip as it relates to Wi Fi technology. But yeah, that's the rumor that is out and about on these internet streets about what to expect to be one of the, I guess, major changes on iPhone 15. I think Terrance and I both said at the top of when we did our predictions, we didn't expect a whole lot of redesign on the new iPhone 15. So it appears, if this rumor is correct, most of the changes are probably going to come in the hardware kind of guts of the iPhone rather than the aesthetic.
Yep. And also important or interesting is if they do put a Wi Fi 6E chip in the iPhone Pro or Pro Max or whatever, is Apple going to, excuse me, is Apple going to make the chip themselves or are they going to farm that out to somebody? Because there's been talk that Apple is going to start producing their own cellular chips or own radios. And I think it was another chip. I can't think what it was. They already do their own processor, but are they going to branch out, do their own modem? And I think, what's the other chip? Can't think of what it was, but maybe it's the Wi-Fi chip. So we'll see if Apple does their own thing or if they farm that out to somebody.
I wouldn't be surprised. We've seen how popular Apple Silicon has been, and it's in pretty much all of the computing hardware, with the exception of, I think, the Tower Mac. I think that's the only one that doesn't have Apple Silicon. The name is escaping me, but it's either here nor there. So yeah, so that looks like it could be one of the key identifiers that is coming with iPhone 15. And in this particular store, they do have a schematic of what the antenna looks like, where the placement is. So, this does have a little meat behind it. But again, we won't know until probably September when the phone is released. I say September, but who knows? They drop stuff the first week of January. So who knows? But if we're keeping the typical timetable, that's the likely expectation. Moving on next, another rumor, a foldable iPad allegedly is in the works for iPad. Ming Chi Kuo reported on Monday that a foldable iPad with reading from this article 95 pack quote built-in kickstand could launch in 2024. There are some other type of tech reporter types from Bloomberg who didn't quite agree. But now that seems to be shifting a little bit. These folks are saying that we won't see a lot new in Apple as far as iPad for 2023, but maybe going into 2024. We've talked about how we felt about rumors before, but this one to me seems even more less plausible. First of all, why would Apple put in a quote built-in kickstand? That's obviously one of those things that Microsoft Surface has. And one thing I've come to learn from Apple, they are going to innovate. They're not going to acquiesce to what another tech company is doing. So that's my first kind of ding on this foldable deal. And I don't know. It doesn't seem very likely to me that this is
No,
going to be a
it's
thing.
yeah, because it'd be more expensive to make a foldable iPad. Much more expensive than your typical iPad, in my opinion. Maybe even more expensive than the iPad Pros. Which, if it's going to be that much more expensive when the iPad Pros are already at, if not the same price of an entry level MacBook, if
Hmm.
I'm going to spend 14 to $1,700 entry level for a foldable iPad, that's just me speculating how much it's going to cost. I might as well just go get a MacBook
Yeah,
that folds.
that
You
folds,
know,
has a
there's
lid,
no
has a screen.
right unless it is a, like you mentioned, a true foldable screen,
Not a flip
which can
phone,
be
not a flip screen.
which is which is what this will be. It'll essentially be kind of like what the, and this is my opinion, again, speculation. It'll kind of be what the Surface, uh, um, Surface Book, Surface has a, Microsoft has a Surface foldable device that is just two screens that can fold on top of them each other, and there's a clear hinge in between. It's even a little bit
So it's a
different
flip. It's a
than,
flip screen.
it's not even a, it is a device that folds. The screen doesn't even fold. Like the Samsung
Oh,
flip devices, the Samsung flip and the Samsung fold, or whatever you call it, the screen in the middle actually does have some
mm,
pliability. It's
yeah.
pliable to where you actually fold the screen. The Surface device, it has two different screens. It's two screens. To me, that's not a
Mm,
flip, right? I
no,
mean, that's not a foldable screen.
no.
You know, and if I would see Apple doing something like that, and if that's the case, it's gonna be as much, it's gonna be the same price, in my opinion, as a MacBook. So it's like, just go
No.
get a MacBook.
And it's honestly, no one's asking for this. I think Apple has more things in their pipeline that they're likely more excited about than a foldable iPad that's only really become a thing based on what some other companies are doing and what they're chattering about. And even the companies that do have a foldable, quote unquote, if you're listening, I'm doing air quotes, a foldable um, device, it's not very great. Let me
Yeah, I
show
was
it
trying
on
to
the screen.
share. Yeah,
Yep.
this is what the Surface Duo
Oh,
is, and as you
Surface
can see,
Duo. It's
yeah,
two
it's
separate screens
clearly
with the cable.
is two separate screens, right? So that's not a foldable screen. It's
No.
nice, it's dope, But this thing I think is, how much is this thing? It is let me see. Let's do
thirteen
256,
hundred
yada
dollars.
yada
Jeez.
yada. Yeah, $1,500. Of course, the configuration that I clicked is not available, but before I clicked on that, it was,
The base
let me
was
go
like
back here.
13.99.
Yep, 13.99. If I click 200 gigs, 256 gigs, which is how much you will want if you're actually going to use this and save a lot of
Right.
documents, $1,500. The MacBook Pro M2, how much is that? Let's go while we're here,
I
while
think
we're
it starts
talking.
at what, 1290?
Let me see.
Oh,
Let's
you said the
see. Go
pro.
to 1299. M2 chip, MacBook Pro 13-inch from 1299. Once I
Yeah.
add, maybe I do the 14-inch. That's like $1,900, right? But if I can get a 13-inch MacBook Pro starting
M2?
from 1299, right, 1499, I would do that all day long.
Yeah.
So all that
Yeah.
to say, all around the world to say,
This is Pooey. This is
a
Poppycock.
a foldable iPad is going to cost as much as a MacBook Pro.
Yeah.
You can't. I don't know who would justify paying that much for an iPad.
Just for an iPad that folds over.
Right.
Now, if it's one, like I said before, if it's a true foldable, like what I saw in Extant, which is one of the sci-fi movies that I think, one of the sci-fi TV shows that Halle Berry was in long time ago. I really enjoyed that show. When they said foldable, it was really, it comes out and it's just like almost a, what's the word? A
Like them,
transparent
like the
screen already.
yeah, that kind of fold out, kind of
Yeah.
like you.
If it's something like
Yeah.
that, then sure, that's, a good 15, 16, $100, even $1,800 iPad. Sure, if you're giving me that, then okay, we can talk. But just
Hmm.
for it to fold on top of each other and it can only go in two directions, can't even fold. If you could fold like a book this way, or if you're looking at portrait, I mean, if it could fold in different ways, then we can have that conversation. But for what the fold devices look like now, no, I'm good. I'm good. All right, that is going to wrap up the lowdown where we talked a little bit of rumors on Apple Tech. We're going to head on over to Second String where we talk all other tech. I mean, we're going to start off with the it girl of tech right now from
Hmm.
OpenAI. Uh, Chat GPT. People been using this thing, been writing articles, been writing papers, been writing emails to people. I mean,
I've been
all
getting caught
sorts.
writing papers and emails.
Yeah, yeah, getting in a little trouble, a little trouble. One of the biggest issues that people have been having are along the lines of having access to the tool, bandwidth, because everybody, whether you're on just to play around and have a little fun to see what it's about, or whether you're actually trying to do some real work, that's one of the complaints. Well, announced, was it today? Was it today? Yep, today. OpenAI, which is a company that the startup that owns and created Chat GPT, they launched their first subscription service of Chat GPT, which is called Chat GPT Plus for $20 a month. Subscribers will get monthly use of the tool. A user, I'm reading from Forbes.com, users will get priority access to ChatGPT during peak times, that's in quotes, and faster responses, and quote, priority access to new features and improvement. Currently, this subscription will only be available in the US and it will roll out to a wait list first. I know it was talked about. I work in the AI space. There was a lot of chatter on one of my team's groups at work about this tool. So yeah, so it's out there. It's not out there, but it's coming, and just 2 months after the public launch, which is quite a significant turnaround. But people are on it. People seem to be interested in it. We'll see how much the interest is now that you have to pay for it, because right now it's free and everybody wants to play around with it, see what it can do. But now you have to put a little skin in the game, put a little money in the game to get the best I guess use and access out of this tool.
Right. So I can definitely see this being an immediate benefit when it comes to customer service. If I'm going to a customer service website and I need support, I would much rather chat with somebody, or in this case, something,
Something.
to resolve my issues. And then if I can't work with it, then you escalate it to getting a phone call, whatever the case may be. But most of the time, me being an IT person, be a technically savvy person, I just need a little bit of point in the right direction to get my issues resolved. In most cases, I've been able to do that via chat. Whether I'm talking to somebody or not, I really don't care, because all I need is that little bit of nudge to get in the right direction, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I could definitely see companies jumping on something like this in order to beef up, shore up their customer service as it relates to chat, to be able to actually have a conversation with somebody in order to really resolve their issue or point them in the right direction without putting a butt in the seat, actually sitting there chatting back and forth all day long, right?
Right.
This is going to make stupid money
Yeah.
because they are so popular and so many companies are clamoring at getting at them. I don't know if this is actual OpenAI, but Microsoft has dumped a bunch of money into it, either
Yep, $10
into
billion
their
commit to cut. Microsoft did a 10 billion commitment, but they've already given them 1 billion.
right, to this group, right? It's not
Mm-hmm.
a competing
It's to
product.
OpenAI. Yep.
Right. They're going to make stupid money. And they stumbled onto something at the right time and are charging customers so they can prove that it is profitable, versus all these other startups. They give it away for free in hopes that a company will buy them, because of the, popularity. But if they can, a positive to a startup trying to sell they're trying to exit and have
Mm-hmm.
a bigger company scoot them up, is, are you profitable? And
Yeah.
if enough people pay this $20, $40, how much ever much it's going to be, and they can sustain that for a couple months and make a bunch of money, the companies are going to be fighting over themselves to buy this company. And these owners, these creators, whomever built this thing, started this thing, they're going to make so much money, and it would behoove them to sell as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Similar to how Wordle, this time last year
The guy
or a
was
year or
like,
two
I'm
ago,
done. Give me some money.
he
I'm out.
he created something at the right time. People jumped on it, and he made a boatload of cash. So
Yeah.
these people are going to do the exact same thing. I don't care what their mission and vision and values were, their mission statement. When that money come calling, there's
We
a
can be whatever
popular
you want us to be. And currently right now it's valued at 29 billion. So yeah. Yeah.
there is a there's a part in next Friday
Mm-hmm.
where Day Day's father, he's Day Day lives out in the suburbs, and Ice Cube's character, I can't even think of his name. Ice Cube character, is getting a little hot in the hood where he was from,
Mm-hmm.
goes out to stay with
Craig.
his cousin Craig. Craig goes stays with his cousin Day Day and his father. His father won the lottery.
Mm-hmm.
And he's talking to Craig, and he's like, this is the uncle talking to Craig. He's like, and I'm paraphrasing. He was like, I always considered I wouldn't be one of those brothers who, get a little bit of money. I'm always going to stay in the hood, no matter how much money I make. I don't care how much, but as soon as I got a little bit of money, I was gone. This sounds like
Out of here.
what they probably had all the good intentions in the world to make a world a better place through smarter AI. And we as a community want to uplift the values of whatever it is. As soon as some company comes to drop 40, 50 billion on them, they are going to be out of there. And I
As
would
soon
too.
as that direct deposit hits, I'm out of here. Y'all have fun
Hmm.
with this. I hope it's ethical. If it's not, I got my money and I'm over here. So be blessed. Godspeed.
Uncle El Uncle Elroy was his name. I'm looking for that skit right now.
Cool. All right. Next up in second string, good old Netflix. Last year, Netflix announced that they were going to crack down on password sharing because too many people were getting over and Netflix was not getting all the money that they felt were due. So
Hmm.
they talked about they were going to implement this crackdown on password sharing. They've been testing it out in some countries. And now it looks like it's finally taken some shape. And Netflix has updated their FAQ section with a new section on what does this password sharing looks like. And they have been getting roasted on Twitter because some of the things that they are implementing with this to me just make zero sense, and I don't know how this is really going to be sustainable. So one of the things is the biggest thing is Netflix is going to be able to almost like a geofence around your devices when it comes to
Hmm.
determining what device is actually associated with which account and where. So apparently now you have to have a primary device and a primary location when it comes to watching your Netflix. So say I travel a lot,
Hmm.
but I have Netflix on a Fire Stick. I can watch it on my phone, on my
Hmm.
iPad, on my laptop, all of these different places. But say I don't really watch it so much on my iPad because I got TVs and bigger screens all over the place, and
Right.
there's really
Right.
no need. But I'm going out of the country. I want to be able to catch some of my shows. So I pack up my little iPad to go with me to Brazil,
Hmm.
and here I go. Ooh, let's see what the latest offering is on Netflix. And suddenly I'm blocked because I'm not in my primary location. So Netflix thinks that I could be
And
sharing.
and you haven't used your device, Netflix on that
Right. I
device
haven't, yeah, I
at,
haven't
at
used,
least once in 30 days. So you have to
right.
fit those two qualifications. You have to have not used Netflix on that device for longer than 30 days. And two, you have to be away from your primary location, which is connected to your Wi-Fi. So if you connect your
Right.
iPad to your Wi-Fi, the Wi-Fi signal is your primary location. So if
Right.
you are away from that and you haven't used Netflix on the device in longer than 30 days, they're going to treat you as you are trying to share your account. And you have to
Account.
go through this process of requesting a temporary code, yada,
That's
yada,
good for
yada,
7. It's
which,
good for 7 days, and
right.
that's it.
It's jumping through a lot of hoops
Yeah.
just to be able to watch Netflix
Yeah.
in that rare occasion to where you are not logged into your account or not at your primary location. I'm the same way. I have a Roku stick that anytime me and my family go travel or me and my wife go travel, instead of messing with the hotel TV service, whatever, we just plug that into the back of the hotel TV. And then that is already logged into Netflix. It's already
Yeah.
logged into Amazon. It's already logged into Apple TV Plus. It's already logged into all these things. All I got to do is make my Roku work on the hotel Wi-Fi, and then
Mhm.
boom, I'm good to go. I don't have to go to the hotel TV and log into the
Log
account
in.
on a public TV and then log into this and then
Yeah.
log into that and this, that, and the third. I can just take this thing with me that's got all my accounts. But the way Netflix is talking, that may not, it may be just as much hoops as me
Yeah.
going to the TV and trying to log in.
And in either of those cases, it would give you the, "Hey, is this you? We don't know. We're blocking you. You need to get this temporary." code that only works for 7 days. Additionally, you have to I guess, quote unquote, connect to your primary location on each device, it
Mm-hmm.
seems,
Mm-hmm.
every 30 days, or else
Mm-hmm.
it's like no. So it's like you got to keep touching base. So people have been asking questions. What about students who
Use their parents when they're
who
off
use
to
their parents, or
college.
they're on their parents? Yeah. Or
It's a
people
wrap.
yeah, I saw some people talk about they created the account in Nigeria where they lived, they moved to the States. What do they got to do now? Get a new account? I don't. It's one of those things where it seems to me that they are going to lose more people than they are going to gain any additional revenue, because it's a lot of hoops that they are really forcing people to jump through, or
Right.
people will only watch certain things
And then
um,
cancel their account.
and cancel account, or only watch them, eventually when they get back home or when they get access. But the thing is, with the way that Netflix works, the first day, the first week, those are the most important numbers for any show or any movie to be on Netflix, because if you aren't producing top numbers that first day or even that first week, especially if you're a series, you get scrapped. Or if you are a producer, if your show doesn't do well, they don't work with you again. So it's one of those things where they're really making it a lot harder for probably not a lot of money. I'd be very interested to see what the actual, I guess, revenue loss is for them in this. Because my thing is, even if you lost revenue on this password sharing, all this work that it took to put this not so great situation in place, that's money you spend as well out of pocket to maybe not even get a great return on it.
So I get it, right? I get it. I get it. I understand what Netflix, their standpoint. Their standpoint is, which is always going to be the case. This is not anything new. Cable companies have been fighting it, and people have been trying to find loopholes around it. I'm pretty sure Netflix is not the only streaming platform that suffers from this. I'm pretty sure Amazon Prime. I'm pretty sure Peacock. I'm pretty sure Disney. I'm pretty sure Apple TV Plus. All these streaming services are scratching their heads trying to figure out, all right, how do we ensure that the person or the family that is paying for the subscription is the primary and or only people who are benefiting, and if they are not, how do we get that additional revenue? Right? I mean, that's every company's problem. How do we get more revenue? How do we take advantage of these people who are seemingly getting it for free? Right? What Netflix is trying to do, in my opinion, is trying to solve the whole thing
Mm-hmm.
in one shot.
Mm-hmm.
When other companies have kind of iterated, they say, okay, we'll try this one thing. And then if people find a loophole around that, they say, all right, well, we'll try this thing. If people find a loophole around that, all right, we'll keep, you keep battling, right?
Mm-hmm.
Netflix seems like they're trying to fix the whole thing at one time, making people like us who are value customers, who may or may not have to deal with this, may have to jump through some hoops. And the question is going to be, are the valued customers going to not put up with it? Or
Mm-hmm.
are they actually going to generate extra revenue where the people who have been mooching finally succumb and subscribe? That's going to be the question.
Yeah.
The problem is, again, right now, they're trying to solve the whole thing at one time versus trying to iterate into the quote unquote perfect scenario,
Yeah.
which you ain't never gonna have it. You ain't never gonna have it. There's always
No.
gonna be a way, a loophole, a back door,
A
nigger
mooch is gonna
rigging.
find a way. A mooch is gonna find a way to mooch, and you're not
Hmm.
going to be able to get them all. And in the meantime, you are. I don't want to say disenfranchised because that sounds so wrong, especially during Black History Month. But you are going to turn off a lot of people in the process, and
Right,
people
right.
are still gonna find a way around the situation.
Hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what their actual numbers look like when this really takes effect, if they get more people to sign up for the service, if people use it more. It'll be interesting to see what the cost analysis looks like if they actually make their money back off the initial investment, and to continue to grow their revenue based off of these new users. So it'll be interesting to see. Next up is Twitter. Oh, Twitter. Not what you think this week, but your boy Elon Musk has grander visions for Twitter, including uh, platform payments, a
Right.
la Cash App,
Mm-hmm.
PayPal,
Mm-hmm.
and of the
Venmo.
same ilk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all of those type people. He is trying to make this happen.
Yes. Clearly, to me, this just shows that Twitter is hard up for cash. Specifically, they are not profitable at all. So, not trying to give Elon credit, but he is trying all these different ways to have Twitter be profitable, create more revenue. Right now, the only way, well, not now, prior to Elon taking over Twitter, the only way they made money is through advertisers. I don't think that was getting it. Elon took over, found out that this is a money pit, and now is trying all these ways to figure out how to make Twitter profitable. The reason why I put this in the show notes is because this might be a good idea. The only reason
Hmm.
why I say that is because there are so many people that use Twitter on a regular basis. They stay on Twitter, it's their main platform. Even people like us who may be on there every once in a while, as far as contributing, we go on there to get news, to find out what's going on, to, anytime there's a major sporting event. Ain't nobody flocking to Facebook, ain't nobody flocking to Instagram. Super Bowl comes, everybody's flocking to Twitter.
Twitter.
When the
Yes.
NBA finals come, NBA All-Star break, everybody flocks to Twitter. When it's Grammys, Oscars, Emmys, People's Choice, whatever the case may be, people flock to Twitter. When there's a big TV show that comes out, everybody's talking about The Last of Us. I haven't watched it yet.
Oh,
But
I'm behind, but it's so good. I watched the first episode. It's so good, but I'm
okay.
behind.
Everybody flocks to Twitter. Game of Thrones, same thing, right? So that makes Twitter a prime location to where people are willing to stay on Twitter to have these conversations, or just to make sure they are in the know. It would make sense for people to then be able to, in addition to just chit chat, be able to actually process transactions. I think Twitter had it to where if you are a influencer, you could tip somebody or something. I don't
Hmm.
know if that's still a thing or
Tip
not.
jar. Yep, it's still a
Yeah,
thing.
right. They're doing that to where you can, if you're a favorite influencer, you want to tip them, you can do that. Now they're actually growing into, okay, well, if I actually meet somebody on Twitter, or more importantly, I had a conversation last week on the show about I hated selling things on OfferUp because
Hmm.
they are the worst. Same thing with Facebook Marketplace. Same thing with Craigslist, yada, yada, yada. I would go to eBay. Well, they take too much of your money up front. So I'm not
Hmm.
trying to lose all my money just to sell something.
Yeah.
If I list something on sale on Twitter and I have a decent enough following and people know I sell a lot of tech gadgets, talking to somebody on Twitter is more of a comfort level for me. So
Hmm.
therefore, selling something on Twitter could be more of a comfort level. And if I could keep all that in house, I list something for sale on my timeline. Somebody responds. We set up a price. We set up shipping or meetup or whatever the case may be. If I can then stay in Twitter and do the transaction there, that's a less of a step versus me having to say, all right, well, here's my Venmo, here's my PayPal, go over here, let me whatever. If I keep it all in house, that makes the most sense. Especially like
Hmm.
I said, everybody congregates at Twitter anyway. So
Yeah.
I hate to give Elon some credit, but this is a good idea specifically for these smaller transactions. If you're selling a shirt, because
Yeah.
again, last thing, and I'll close up. When people go viral, right? They put out a hot take tweet or put out
Mhm.
a thread or whatever, and people go and it goes viral. The common thing that people do now is, oh, I'm viral. Let me promote something. So then they're like, oh, I
See
didn't
the
think this was
link
going to go
below.
nowhere. I didn't think this was going. I didn't think this was going to go. You a lie, because that was the whole point.
Whole point.
And then they promote stuff. It'd be
Yeah.
dope if they could then actually sell something right then and there while they got the virality,
Yeah.
versus trying to get them to leave and go to something else. People don't leave. If they're in Twitter, they're in Twitter. They don't then
Yeah.
leave to go do something else, even if it's connected.
Yeah, I find it interesting that Jack Dorsey, who was the previous CEO and founder of Twitter, he has Square. So
Hmm.
I find it interesting that there, kind of was a connection with
Hmm.
payment processing that they weren't able to leverage. And two, I'm not giving Elon and them any of my financial information. You can forget that, buddy. No,
Right.
thank you very much.
Right. No, I get it. He would definitely have to curry up some
Some favor.
regain some confidence in the from the user base, because by and large, again, the people that we follow pretty much are not with Elon Musk, but he does have some fans out there. But by and
Yeah, he do.
large, he'd have to garner up some confidence in order for people to then put their financial information into Twitter. It's
Yeah.
one thing for me to have a profile and a catchy handle and fire off some tweets. It's a whole nother thing to connect my banking information to
My
that.
money.
Right.
Yeah, and I think he has a lot of ground to make up in that space. And I don't know how willing he's going to be to schmooze and make those necessary differences. But time will tell. We'll see if it goes anywhere. Yeah, so that's very interesting situation. Uh, so that is going to wrap up second string. Next, we're going to head over into For the Culture, where we talk about any and all things culturally relevant that we want to talk about. As I mentioned at the top of the show, happy Black History Month. And as with our tradition as of a few years ago, Teching While Black is back this month as well. And this week, we are going to highlight see, I practiced saying this name before, and then now I'm drawing a blank, even though I have it phonetically out here. But our Teching While Black honoree for the very first day of Black History Month is Rediet Abebe. She
Okay.
is the co-founder of Black in AI, which is a company startup that's goal is to increase the presence of Black people in the field of artificial intelligence. This kind of resonates with me as a person whose job it is to work in artificial intelligence and machine learning. So she is of Ethiopian descent. She is currently the assistant professor of computer science at UC Berkeley. In this role, she is the first Black female professor in the history of the department and the second in the history of the College of Engineering. So that in itself, at some place like UC Berkeley, is definitely a huge feat. Secondly, I'll say additionally, because there's a lot of things. Additionally, she is a junior fellow at the Harvard Society of Fellows. She is only the second junior fellow with a computer science PhD, and she is the first female computer scientist and the first Black computer scientist that is in this society. She additionally is the first Black woman to complete a PhD in computer science at Cornell. So she has all these degrees. I mean, a lot.
All
It's
these
she has
accolades.
all these
Hmm.
accolades, but I did want to highlight what her educational background is because it's pretty spectacular. So as I mentioned, she has a PhD in computer science from Cornell University. It's a doctor of philosophy. She also from Cornell University, has a Master of Science in Computer Science. She has another master's from Harvard University in applied mathematics. She also has a master's in advanced studies in mathematics from the University of Cambridge. And her undergraduate degree is also from Harvard University in mathematics. Whew, that is a lot of stuff, but she has so many accolades. I'll just go over a couple. The latest one is she is an Andrew Carnegie Fellow. She won a dissertation award from the American Computing and Machine Association. She got an honorable mention for her dissertation in ACM as well. She's, MIT 30 under 30, Bloomberg 50 to watch. I mean, all of these things. And it's one of those things where to be, first of all, in STEM, particularly as a Black woman, is already a lot. But in addition to that, she has the highest level of education that you could receive in this space. She has a startup to try and increase involvement in Black people in the space, which we just talked about Chat GPT. And it's one of those things where AI is definitely in the computing space, one of the leading areas. And it's important to have as many Black folks as possible in the space so that we are included in the decisions, included in the thought process of how this type of technology gets made. So I definitely wanted to shout out Rediet Abebe.
Yep, representation matters. Her being able to go this far may persuade another black girl or black boy to go this far because we can now see you can, in fact, go this far.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we have the good, the very good, the excellence, the Black excellence for the culture for Black History Month. Now let's take a turn. Oh, Florida. Oh, Florida. I don't I don't know how I well, that's a lie. I do know how we got here in this country to where on the very first day of Black History Month in this country, one man in one state can basically decide what the AP program in African American Studies is going to look like nationwide. So, if you haven't heard, your boy Ron DeSantis was not very happy with okay, now I can't see it, with what the proposal was the for the AP program. So anybody who doesn't know, AP programs are controlled by the College Board, same people who do the ACT and the SAT. It's for high school students. It's AP is advanced placement, so you can get
Mm-hmm.
a college credit for it, and typically it covers a myriad of subjects: math, science, English, literature, other history, even history of other cultures and minorities. But it seems to only be a problem when the College Board went through all of their things that you do to come up with a curriculum for college placement. So yeah, this was announced. Ron DeSantis said no. In essence, he doesn't think that there is value in the topic. And he had lots of concerns and questions around this subject and why we had to create this. So it's one of those things where it's it's always so disheartening when Black people raise an issue that you have all these other cultures who have AP programs, and it's perfectly fine the way the College Board decided to do the curriculum. But now Black folks are in it, and it's one of those things where it's not it doesn't seem to be as valid. And it's one of those
Yeah.
things you have to change it, manipulate it to fit the narrative of the thoughts of, let's be honest, a racist person, um, for it to even get to this point where it comes under this much scrutiny. And the fact that the college board did acquiesce and did make changes to the program to make him more comfortable. And this still doesn't even mean that it's going to be allowed into Florida schools. So the college board purged, we're reading this article from New York Times, purged many black writers, scholars associated with critical race theory, which again is a graduate level course that's taught in many law schools and graduate programs around the country. Not just talking about black people doing stuff. That's not what CRT is. It cuts out writers and scholars related to the queer experience, Black feminism. It's also cut out topics such as Black Lives Matters, and they've added something called Black conservatism as a research project. So it's one of those things where we just continually get stripped of the experience. As I mentioned, Black history is American history. So let's talk about it all. Let's talk about it all. That's the point of history, right? To have an account of what happened with hopes that we won't repeat that.
Right. According to the College Board in Florida, David Coleman, the head of the College Board, wanted to assure people that it had nothing to do with political pressure. He
Sure.
said the changes were all made for pedagogical reasons, which
Sure.
are, I looked that up, and it is related to teaching. So basically, they're saying that this was not done because of any sort of political pressure. At the college board, quote, "We can't look to statements of political leaders. The changes," he said, "came from the input of professors and longstanding AAP principles." Again, even if that were the case,
Which is
it is
not.
odd that it would happen now. Why hasn't this always been the case that this college board would look at any of these courses, these classes, these, special,
Topics.
yeah, these topics? They should have always been questioning the educational
Value.
importance of
Yeah.
these, right? The values of these. It just comes strange that now all of a sudden Ron DeSantis, who, in my opinion, yeah, sure, he's probably has some prejudice and he probably has some stereotypes, but Ron DeSantis is running for president.
Mm.
He saw the blueprint laid by Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
So he's decided to take his control and his power, which is why, side note, we should be more focused on local politics than
Exactly.
federal politics. We are always worried about Congress. We're always worried about House of Representatives. We're always worried about the president. We're always worried about the Supreme Court, right?
Which are important.
Which are important, but the power, the ability to have a plan and implement so fast still is completely controlled by local government. Local governments can say, we're doing this and we're doing
Mm-hmm.
it tomorrow. You deal with it. Versus federal government, oh, we can need to talk. We need to come up with
Yeah, jump
this.
through
It
all
might
the
get,
hoops.
it may
Yeah.
take months. It may take years. Local government, like tomorrow, this is what we're doing. And
Yeah.
this is a prime example that Ron DeSantis, who is the governor of Florida, who was newly reelected, is eyeballing the presidency. What can he do to further curry favor among the constituents? The
Mm-hmm.
constituents have already been fed and
Mm-hmm.
already been
They have an appetite for it. Trump gave them the
they've
appetite.
already been right. They've already been radicalized to believe that critical race theory is terrible. Black history is not important. LGBTQ and all these other thoughts are terrible for our kids. They've already been radicalized on all this by Trump, by all these other conservatives, all these other things that's been happening. All Ron DeSantis is doing is, what are the constituents saying? What are they doing? What's going on? Bet we're going to do more of that. And all he had to do is
Hmm.
do more of that. I don't
Yeah.
know Ron DeSantis from the next man, but as a political professional, he is taking what they are doing, taking the blueprint and building on it. And this
He's
was the next
picking up what
step.
they're putting down.
Right. And again, like I said, the fact that he's a governor, the fact that he can just do it, I don't care what this college board has said, that they are just doing this specifically for the input of as a result as of the input of professors and longstanding AP principals. They know good and well that
Yeah.
dude leaned on them,
Yeah.
and he could kick them, he could do something to make their lives so much
Yeah.
harder. So instead of fighting all of that, we'll just kick a
They
couple of these things
acquiesced.
out. Who cares?
Yeah. And the thing is, the program went through a full pilot program as it was, and nobody said boo.
Right.
Nobody had a problem. Nobody said boo. But as soon as he says, nope, we don't need to talk about these things. The interesting thing with the statement from the College Board president, he said this had nothing to do with political pressures. Again, these are just proposed changes that they've made. What if this guy still doesn't, quote unquote, accept what these changes are? And he says, well, this is a good start, but we need more. Are they going to go back and change it again? And if they go back and change it again, what's going to be the excuse? Because I don't see in any world where Ron DeSantis allows this program, this AP in African American Studies program to go forward. I think is ultimately going to be either fully scrapped or not allowed in Florida at all.
Well, what they're doing right now, starting with AP courses. So the whole thing around this is their AP courses. So the proponents of these changes are like, it's just AP courses. They can still teach it in regular courses. They can still teach it in, during Black History Month if they want to. But critical race theory, as it relates to college education, AP courses, a lot of these kids are taking AP courses in high school for the sole point to prep them for college.
College.
So they're starting with AP courses. Who cares? Black history, African American studies, critical race theory, LGBTQ studies, queer, all these other things. It's not important in AP courses. But of
Mhm.
course, as we know, like you mentioned, it'll snowball. So,
Yeah.
they're starting at the top. And if there's no intervention, they'll, again, based off of the playbook, based off the foundation that's already been laid by previous politicians,
Yeah.
the fervor, say that three times fast, the fervor that acclimated, is that the right word? Trump into
So
the
where you going?
presidency.
Yeah.
Yeah, acclimate. Yeah, into the presidency. Like I said, DeSantis is continuing that, purely for political pressure, but also with a side of prejudice and a side of racism, but
Yeah.
primarily because he's trying to move into the
It's
president. And
power.
this is what the base thinks they want. This is what the
Yeah.
base has been told that is important.
Yeah.
Whether that's the case or not
Which is
will
not.
remain to be seen. But he's just using this as a pawn to move his political career, and it's a shame
Yeah.
that people can't see that.
Yeah. And it's just one of many things. So in addition to this, he's saying that he's pulling all funding for DE&I from all Florida universities. So there's going to be no money for that because it's not important. He has teachers covering up their books in the classrooms because if the books don't meet the rigor of what he says books should be in the classroom, teachers can be tried for felonies.
Hmm.
So it's one of those things where this latest thing with AP is just another link in that chain. And if you think about it, it's starting with education. It's starting with elementary age kids from, teachers having to cover up their libraries in their classrooms because they may not meet the state standards. And, teachers don't want to underpaid, underfunded, stressed out teachers are already you know, that this is something else that is going to weigh on them. If they have the wrong book or the kid picks up the wrong book, they could now be, charged with a felony. So it's one of those things where it's just another link in his armor and chink in his armor. And the thing is, he keeps going further. He did it with the books. He did it with AP. Now he's
He's done
doing
it
it
with a
with
lot of
DEI, and
things.
he's done it with a lot of things, and it just keeps snowballing. And nobody stopped this guy because the state
He's
of
the
Florida,
governor.
he's governor. He has all of these. I think there was a guy who was a Democrat who won a he either won a state attorney position or something. He got the guy removed, even though they said, yeah, he couldn't do that. The man still can't take his job because
Hmm.
DeSantis got, blocked it. So it's one of those things where I think he's showing the whole nation and the people in their conservative
What the
base,
plan is.
look at what I can do in Florida. You like that,
Hmm.
right? Let's take it nationwide when I become
Hmm.
president. And they are going to be all on it. All the while, you have this new crop of neo Nazi homeschooling classes, schools, where there it's like 1,500 kids are being taught in the ways of neo Nazis.
Well, it's
And
homeschool, so that's what they're saying.
right.
It's homeschool.
Yeah. Yeah. But they're breeding people who are further into this. I don't even I don't even know what to call it, into this thing. And it's unfortunate. I will wrap it all up to say is, like Terrance mentioned, vote in your local elections, be active participants whenever there's an election in your area, for your judges, for your school board, because he got school boards saying, yep, this is good. And a lot of times, people on the school board, you don't have to have any formal education. You don't have to have any educational background, background in actual education to be on a school board. It's a local election you run. And if you get enough votes, you win. And you get to
Hmm.
decide what goes on in the schools that your kids attend. So it's one of those things where, on this first day of Black History Month, we got to stay strong, and we have to unfortunately fight,
Get
our way
involved.
through this on all different fronts. So yes, find a way to get involved, get your voice heard, because the way that things are going, it's really scary. People laugh about it because, Black people make jokes, but it's really serious. It's really detrimental, not only to, the people that we're raising, but, emotionally as well. It's just a lot of stuff coming fast and strong and in groves. And if we don't start to take a more proactive step, then God forbid what it's going to look like going down the line.
Yep.
That was depressing and sad. But, you know, it's unfortunately a fact of life. That is going to wrap up for the culture. Let's head on over to the lowdown for our tech tip of the week.
All right. All right. This week, I think I talked about it last week or the week before, how you can use Siri, peeking over, see if she saw me, to restart your phone, your tablet. The quickest way to force restart your Apple Watch is different than shutting it off and turning it back on. You have to, the traditional way is you have to turn the device off, wait for it to power down. You got to press and hold another button and wait for it to power back up. Well, there is a way to force restart your Apple Watch so you can just, it's a restart. Instead of shutting it down and then powering it back up, there's a restart. And the best way to do that, like I mentioned, is to just press and hold. Let's see if I can show all the people watching. If you press and hold both the digital crown, the thing that spins around, I can't think of a better way to explain that, but the digital crown and the side button, you press and hold those, and you continue to hold them until you see the Apple logo. Then you release them. That shuts down and does a restart of your Apple Watch. So that, real quick, that was my tip for the week. If you don't feel like being bothered with all the way shutting down your Apple Watch and then having to turn it back on, there's a quicker way by doing a force restart of your Apple Watch.
Cool. Thanks for that tech tip of the week. Please govern yourselves accordingly. That's going to wrap up the show for this week. We want to thank you for tuning in. As always, Brother Tech, where can the people find you?
Sure, you can find me all over the internets at Brother Tech. That's BROTHATECH.
And you can find me at Tech Savvy Diva on all of the social platforms as well. Again, to comment, connect, share, and support our show, you can head on over to snobOScast.com to get all of the details. That's going to wrap us up for this week. Enjoy the rest of your week. Until next week.
Peace.
Bye, everybody.